Hi everybody and welcome back to the channel. In today's video, I'm going to take an in-depth look at melody writing. Specifically, I'm going to show you a solution that I've done for question 1 for the 2007 question on the Leaving Cert music course. As always, timestamps are below, so feel free to hop around the video as you like. There's also a PowerPoint presentation, PDF files and MuseScore files related to all the content discussed in this video. That can all be accessed from the Patreon link below. If you like the breakdown and format of this solution, be sure to hit subscribe as I'll have more solutions coming very shortly. So without further delay, here is the breakdown of a solution for question 1 on the 2007 Leaving Cert paper. Step 1 is picking our instrument. The options on the 2007 paper were flute, violin, oboe and horn. I'm going to show you the ranges of each of these instruments and why I ended up picking violin. The flute's range is from middle C, or C4, to C7. The violin's range is from a G3, that's the G below middle C, all the way as high as a G7. Brace your ears. The oboe's range is from a B flat 3, the B flat just below middle C, all the way as high as F6. And the horn's range is from a C3 as high as an F5. You can see from these ranges that flute, violin and oboe would be the more appropriate choice for your melody, as their ranges sit more comfortably in the treble clef. When writing for flute and oboe, you just need to be aware that the lowest note available on those instruments is C4 and B flat 3 respectively. If you're curious about the ranges of all instruments that have ever occurred on the Leaving Cert paper, the PDF to all of those instruments and their ranges can be accessed below, also via that Patreon link. So I have picked violin for my melody. Step 2 is analysing the given phrase. Let's start by having a listen to it. When the given phrase has an anacrusis, or upbeat, we have to use the rhythm of that anacrusis as the entry into every other phrase. So what you'll see is 3 quavers are missing from the 4th bar here, and you, as the composer, have to fill those in. We are going to use that same 3 quaver rhythm pattern, and it's also worth noting the distinctive octave leap that happens from E to E. In bar 1, we have a dotted rhythm that descends by step. In bar 2, we have ascending, going upwards, triadic movement. Triadic meaning the notes are forming part of a chord, in this case the 1 chord, A major. And then we have a leap of a 6th from bar 2 into bar 3. We may come back to use that triadic movement as a point of development to extend the range of our melody throughout. In bar 3, it's fairly straightforward. We have descending, going down, stepwise movement. And then bar 4 finishes on an imperfect cadence. The upbeat should continue to spell the chord of 5 or 5/7. The notes involved will be E, G sharp, B or D. I went with 5/7. I kept the octave leap, E to E, that we were given in the opening anacrusis, and then I went down by step to the D note. An important thing to realise is that this D note has a strong tendency to want to go down further by step. So I know already that the first note of my A1 phrase, which is the next phrase coming up, is going to be C sharp. Now we come to writing our A1 phrase. Let's start by having a listen, and I've included a snippet of the upbeat from the 4th bar. So bar 5 retains the dotted rhythm and quaver movement from bar 1. There's a small variation in that the melody starts now on the C sharp note of chord 1 as opposed to the tonic note A of chord 1. In bar 6, I've kept the ascending triadic movement like in bar 2, but this time I'm spelling the chord of 6. My reason for doing this is that I know that my modulation to the dominant key is coming up, which I'll talk about shortly. And chord 6 in our given key, which is F sharp minor, acts as a pivot chord in that it is chord 2 in our upcoming new key. The triadic movement also helps me to expand the range, and I've been able to hit the A on the ledger line above the stave. Bar 7 and 8 is where we will do our modulation to the dominant. In keeping with what happened in bar 3, I have a descending stepwise movement, but I'm making sure to spell the chord of 5 or 5/7 in the new key. The given key is A major, and if we count up 5 notes in A major, we arrive at the note E. That means the key that we're going to is E major. The leading note in E major, or the 7th degree of an E major scale, is D sharp. And this is the accidental we need so that our melody sounds like it has changed key. Returning to the bar 7 that I've written, I start on the high B, and simply descending by step will allow me to arrive at D sharp on the very last note of bar 7 and land strongly on the E note, the tonic of the new key, on the first note of bar 8. In the upbeat to the B phrase, or the third phrase, I make sure that the notes of an E major triad are used again. So I have a B to B octave leap. Again, the octave leap is from the opening anacrusis. And then I have a G sharp, which is a further arpeggiation of the E major chord. Next, we have the B phrase. The overall structure of our melody is going to be A, A1, B, A2. This phrase form for a 16-bar melody is very common in traditional melody writing. A good B phrase tries to develop what came before and also should sound distinct to our A phrases. One thing that I've done here, and that you may want to try yourself when you're writing melodies, is use a sequence. In this instance, I have a 2-bar sequence. So bars 9 and 10 have a distinct pattern that is followed by a sequence of that pattern in bars 11 and 12. Let's have a listen to it. So bar 9 is the beginning of my 2-bar sequence. It is based on an inversion of bar 1 in the given phrase. So in bar 1, we had a dotted rhythm followed by a quaver movement, but it descended. So when we invert something in music, we start from the same point and we change the direction, upwards or downwards. In bar 10, the second bar of the sequence, I've based it on a further inversion of bar 2 of the given phrase, and I've taken the octave leap that happened in the anacrusis to form the second half of bar 10. In bar 11, I've made a sequence of bar 9 by bringing the same melody up one step. So to bar 12, the first 3 notes are a sequence of bar 10 to satisfy the ear's need to hear a completion of the sequence. And then the latter half of that bar is about returning the melody to chord 1 in the next phrase via chord 5, or 5/7 in this case, as I've used the notes B, E and D, the D note being the 7th of the chord. And finally, we have our A2 phrase. Let's have a listen. So bar 13 is a variation on bar 1. I've omitted the dotted rhythm and I've gone for quavers on beats 2 and 3. In bar 14, we have a variation of bar 2. Again, I've gone for the 6th chord here instead of the 1 chord that was in bar 2, but I've kept the triadic movement and also the rhythm. And just like bar 2 did, we're going to leap from bar 14 into bar 15. And in bar 15, we see another inversion. Bar 3, if you can recall, descended from the F sharp note by step. What I've done here is mapped out where I would need to begin in order to end on my tonic note in bar 16, using all quaver movement and stepwise movement in bar 15. In bar 16, we end on the tonic note on a long rhythm. Ending on the high tonic tends to give a piece more finality And the last thing to note is that we must omit the value of our anacrusis, which was 3 quavers, from the last bar in bar 16. The last thing we need to look at is articulation. This is where we indicate to the performer of our melody what way we would like it played. The same rules always apply for this part of composition. We want to keep it simple and logical and also musical. Some questions you could ask yourself are, how loud would an instrument sound at a particular register? Where are the phrases is a very important question for current Leaving Cert students, as the melody may not sit in 4-bar equal phrases throughout. But as long as you can count to 4, you can be guaranteed that the phrases are going to work in 4-bar stints. Keeping track of this is going to be crucial to understanding what phrase you're on and what you're supposed to be doing at any particular point in the melody. The last bit is that scale movement tends to be legato, so slurring those passages just makes a lot of common sense. And now here's a look at the full melody in action, with articulation and dynamics included. So that's it for today's video. I hope you found something useful there. This has been David Kennedy and I'll see you in the next one.